Welcome to the Color Timer podcast. I am your host, Vincent Taylor. This is the podcast where we speak to professionals who work with color. Today I'm speaking to Andy Minuth. Andy is a color workflow specialist at FilmLight and a colorist as well. And I've been trying to catch up with Andy for ages. He has a very, very busy schedule, but finally our calendars aligned. So this is going to be good. Do I say that every time? I think I do, but it is. It's going to be good. So let's go.
Take your seats because the hourglass is about to turn. We are entering the world of the micro podcast. Explore the craft, creativity, and science of professionals who use color to tell stories. Welcome to The Color Timer with Vincent Taylor.
Andy, hi. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Vincent. Great being here. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, absolutely. Now, just before we started the recording, I wanted to make sure I was pronouncing your last name correctly, and I was saying Andy Minuth. But tell me what you just told me.
Yeah, so basically, I don't know much about my last name. Someone told me once that it's a French name and it's pronounced Minuth or Minute. But in the end, I'm very pragmatic. I'm okay with Minuth, the English pronunciation. And I myself, I usually say it in German, Minute. Yeah. So I call myself Andy Minuth. But I'm happy with everything.
I'm big about names, because it's like I lived in Shanghai for 3 years, and there were so many people there who would just give me the easy version of their name, and a lot of times I'd end up caving and going, all right, I'll be. But names are so beautiful, and that's why I'm always curious. But yeah. But look, before I forget, let's start my sand timer. So we have it's like a game show. We have 15 minutes. So and 9 times out of 10, I start chatting to someone and then I forget to do it. So I'm going to do it. So here we go.
Yeah, let's start the color timer.
Start the color timer.
Yeah.
And is that going? And everything's going. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So first question for $100. Your title or your job title is a color workflow specialist at FilmLight. What is that? What does that mean? A color workflow specialist?
Yeah, that's a good question. So usually what I'm adding to my title is a colorist, because in the years before I joined FilmLight, which is the Baselight company, I was working as a colorist for more than 10 years. And so in my current position, I usually, when I describe what I'm doing, is I cut it in 3 thirds. So one part is training people. So I'm training a lot of Baselight users, more the advanced training typically, but probably if you try to learn Baselight, you might have seen my face or heard my voice in the tutorial videos. The other part is supporting our users. So I'm not doing the low-level hardware support when the RAID is not performing, etc., but I'm helping more in setting up color workflows, or if people have questions operating the software or have tricky problems to solve in the timeline. And the last third is also helping in or working in the development of the software. But I'm not actually writing code, so I can't do that. But I'm suggesting new features, testing new features, and giving a lot of feedback there to the team.
Right. And then backing up for those listeners who don't know, FilmLight. Tell me about FilmLight. What do they do?
Yeah, FilmLight has one big or one famous product, which is the Baselight color grading and finishing system. But we also, in the past, we had some other products, and they all ended on light. So the first product, as far as I remember, was the Northlight film scanner, and there was the TrueLight color management system. And but these are both discontinued these days. So nowadays we have Baselight is still our main product. And we have a Daylight, which is usually I call it a shot-based grading system. It's like the sister of or the brother of Baselight, and which is used a lot for dailies, but also in VFX workflows. And we have our pretty new product, which is called Nara, which is aimed more into a different market now, more also into the post producers or into agencies or archives, etc. But but I would say the heart of FilmLight is really the Baselight product. And what's really great about the company is that we're still run by the original founders. So we are, so Wolfgang Lamp and Steve Chapman, who founded FilmLight, they are still running the company, which is really has a nice mood or feeling working for them.
Yeah, it's always, and to be honest with you, that's always come across whenever I've dealt with FilmLight. It just comes across as this much more personal kind of experience. I'll circle back to FilmLight and Baselight, but I wanted to ask you. No, you're from Germany originally, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm from Germany.
But you're based in. Are you still based in Istanbul or?
No. I'm now based in Cologne these days. But I have a few stops behind me. So after Istanbul, I went to Munich, then Berlin, now Cologne.
Wow.
These were most of the times personal reasons, but it's but all of those are great cities.
Yeah.
And Istanbul was very exciting, I have to say.
How long were you there for?
3 years I spent in Istanbul.
Yeah, that's enough to get to know a city, that's for sure.
And really nice people there, really, really great friendships I still have.
Now you come
and every year I try to visit. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's the best thing about like traveling around. You end up making these friends kind of all over the world. Now you come from an editing background, and you've crossed over into color. I mean, I noticed so often that editors kind of move into color. It's very seldom the other way around. But what kind of pulled you into the color world?
Yeah, that's a good point. So when I started out, I go one step further back. I mean, I hope that we have enough time in that micro podcast. So I, like most of us in the film industry, I wanted to become a big director when I was a teenager, when I was 16 or 17. But then quickly I realized I rather stay in post or stay at a computer than being on set and dealing with all of these different peoples and needs and emotions. So I quickly realized, okay, I want to do something creative, but I want to rather do it in front of a computer.
Yeah.
And so then editing was the obvious choice. And so then after I finished my school, I started learning Avid at a post house in Germany. But then after a few years, I realized that I will probably never be the best editor in the world. So I got that feeling also watching other people and talking to other people that I didn't really have that, let's say, musical rhythm sometimes to feel the project on a timing base or on a rhythm base. But I was really good at seeing problems with images and seeing like something is wrong with that image. Maybe we reframe it or I need to stabilize it. And then I started also using all of the available image manipulation tools inside the editing software. Back then, this was a media composer, and then I also started using After Effects to fix up shots. And so I realized this is an area I'm much more interested in. And then one day, someone told me, this was maybe around 2003 or so, someone told me about color grading, and I thought back then this was that magic art. Probably you were already practicing it at that time.
Yeah, back in those days.
On these expensive machines in these secret rooms that nobody had access to. And so I thought that sounds exactly like my cup of tea. And so then I set up a plan to I want to somehow learn that color grading. And basically then I went back to university. There was of course no class for color grading, but I did like a general, or it was called audiovisual media course. And it contained a lot of media technology, but also some creative things, cinematography, script writing, etc. But I always had in the back of my head, I want to become a colorist in the end. And back then I was the only person in that course of 60 people who wanted to become a colorist. Fast forward 10 years later, I was a lecturer in the same course. And I asked the students, who thinks about becoming a colorist or considers becoming a colorist? And I would say 1/4 of the hands go up of the students. And I thought, oh my, times have changed. And And so then after university, I applied for an internship at back then Germany's largest post-production. This was still the Film and DI days. And they said, you basically, they liked me and they gave me a chance. And then I started working my way up with starting assisting as a colorist, conforming projects already on a Baselight back then, and also working a lot on the dailies, doing dailies for years.
It's interesting, that thing that you've touched on, because I remember that as well, that it used to be this dark art, and I come from the lacing up film days on the telecine and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it felt like it became, I don't know if it was because it became more accessible, or, I mean, why do you think it became like so many people are colorists now?
Yeah, I think there's probably multiple reasons. One of the big ones is probably social media, and especially Instagram,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. So people are thinking more visually, and they're even basically almost everyone is now a small content creator, and they're looking at images and thinking about, okay, how can we enhance images? And in the old days, when I tried to explain my job, I always said this is something like Photoshop, but for movies.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's easier to say, it's like I'm doing these Instagram filters, basically. If I talk to someone who is really low, basically, we're really far away from the industry.
I still say that. I'll go. I'm out and I go, "What do you do?" I say, "Oh, I'm a colorist," and I'll either see the glazed look, and then I'll go, "Oh, that's for moving pictures, Photoshop for moving pictures," or or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious about. I wanted to ask you about something, because this is something that I think you mentioned it ages ago, talking about color trends. You know how there's this idea of a color trend. First of all, do you believe that there are color trends?
Yeah, at least I believe I see them when I look at all of the content that is graded out there. So I'm always trying to have that. Or I'm now feeling myself that I'm now in more like a meta position about color grading. So I'm not really grading real projects much anymore, or almost not at all. But I'm having that bird's eye view on what is going on. And so and also, I'm in the lucky position that I can have a quick look, for example, at all the entries to the FilmLight Color Awards. So FilmLight is also doing these color awards for colorists, and there's a lot of entries every year. And I'm quickly skimming through all of them, and just to see what is going on. And I have to say, the quality in the recent years got better and better and better. So I would say also, from my personal taste, when I look at projects these days, there's not often that you see something where you say, oh, that's maybe a little bit boring or not so great. And so I think there are some trends, and in the recent years, it's obvious. It's everything got very filmic, and now, back in the days, we in the DI. I come from a DI background, grading movies for theatrical release. There we had our film LUTs. We had to use them. It was a necessity for technical reasons for the color management. But nowadays, almost everyone, even maybe doing corporate videos for a big corporation, they throw on their film print emulation or whatever technique they have. And so I think that's a big trend. And personally, I really like that film look, but I also think probably as an industry, we now need to also evolve from that slowly. We need to find something that is not video, but also not just cornering us deeper and deeper and trying to get that 2% better, maybe film emulation or reproduction. I think now it's time to think about the next steps.
It's interesting that those few who are brave enough to kind of step outside and try something different, because I do find that the references that I'm given to me as a colorist all have a lot of very similar aspects to them. They've got a different look, but there's that thread of, like you're saying, like a film look or something like that. And even when people go, oh yeah, we want to do something a bit different, often it just steers back to that kind of same world. So, how do you break out of that?
Yeah, that's the question. So, there's different. That's actually one of the questions I'm thinking about a lot, or also discussing with my colleagues. So, you could think about that. Maybe film is like a local maximum. So basically, when we are somewhere close to a film look, and then whenever we change it slightly, we think like, no, going back where we were is probably better, because whenever in every direction we go, it's going downhill. But maybe if we go through that long valley, then maybe there's a higher mountain waiting for us somewhere. And and we at FilmLight, we're not the people saying you should do this or you should do
No,
that,
of course
and this
not.
is the good look, and this is it not. But what we try to give is like a framework for people to basically go on exploration. And I mean, sometimes people they try to provoke these lucky accidents. This is also what when I created commercials in Istanbul, for example. Sometimes I just loaded up my quick memory, the scratch pad and Baselight with random grades from previous projects that were even offline or so. And then on a new project, sometimes when the people were interested, I just threw them on randomly just to provoke that lucky accident and maybe to get out of that local maximum we were currently sitting and to go somewhere completely different and then maybe realize, there's something interesting there. And yeah, in the end, we at FilmLight, in the last years, we developed a new tool called Chromogen, and that's aimed exactly in that direction. We try to build a framework that has lots of aspects of film and film characteristics, but is also open to depart from that, but still living in the same rules of that world, and not going into the video world. I guess nobody wants to go back anymore.
I've got to say, I think it's absolutely wild that you guys are developing new tools, and I don't say that lightly because I mean there's so many great tools out there already, and like Baselight has like an artillery of great things you can use. And then I know very little about Chromogen, but the little bit I saw, I went, that's wild. I mean, that's so left of field and a really creative way to kind of uh, build a new look and yeah, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's also it took a lot of years. So I guess it was I don't know. Feels like it took like maybe 4 or 5 years to come to the point where we were then really happy and showed it to the world and let it out. And now it's more exciting because we always have ideas how people will use a tool, but now it's always the most exciting part of my job is then seeing our actual users then doing something much more amazing than we imagined.
That's so
The
cool.
tool
That
could
is
do,
so
and
interesting.
that's then always nice.
Yeah, that's really now. I mean, Baselight is your tool of choice, right? And you've been on it for a long time. What is it about Baselight that clicks for you, that works for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I need to think about it because now I am in Stockholm syndrome for so many years, basically working for the company for so many years. But it's I guess for me it's I mean maybe many people might consider me as a very technical person. I mean, and of course I do a lot of technical things in my job. But actually, when I'm sitting down with what I do occasionally at a project, I'm not thinking much about the technical stuff. So what I really enjoy is that you can just throw the tools around, throw the trackballs and rings and all the stuff around, and just see where it leads you. And I think what for me always worked best on Baselight was even from back maybe 10 years ago, is that somehow it always gave me that feeling of maybe a more it's a little bit weird word, maybe more organic response, so that I always felt like it's harder to break the image. I mean, it's also possible, of course, with Baselight if you go too far or if you do stupid things, then to break the image. But when you are using the tools in a normal or in the normal range, then it's then a really safe playing field, and you can then just play around and see where it takes you without these ugly artifacts which throw you out of the flow, etc. So
I know exactly what you mean by that.
That's maybe a very abstract answer.
But no. But I know exactly what you mean by that, because I remember, I'd been on Baselight for a number of years, and then I stepped away from it and was using a different software. And then when I came back into Baselight again, I remember there was always this thing where I would want to lift up the luminance of a color, like of a color key. And I went, oh, damn, I'd really like to do that. But of course, every time you do that, the color breaks. And I remember doing it on Baselight and going, oh, man, the color's not breaking. That's, within reason, obviously. But I was blown away by that, that it seemed to just keep the image together so much more.
And exactly that task we even enhanced in the last 2-3 years. So basically, we found even better ways. And I can say now that I'm looking behind the curtain, I can also say that a lot of effort goes into exactly that, so that the tools don't break the image so easily.
Yeah.
So that's what we spend a lot of time with, and also that the controls feel in a reasonable way, that when you touch the control, it gives like a response that you would expect.
Yeah. Now, I am the king of breaking my own rules and going over my own timer, but I want to. I've got,
is the timer already running
it's
out?
already
Oh
got,
my
man,
God.
it zooms by. But I've got. There was a couple more questions there, but one that I would love to ask you about is, you're an artist. I mean, you're people say you're very technical and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, you're an artist, and I'd love to know what is your art of choice? If you were going to go out for a nice day and look at something that inspires you, would it be a movie? Would it be a painting? Would it be some sculpture? Would it be music? What gets Andy excited?
Yeah, it's definitely visual things. So when I was a kid, I had a lot of ear infections. So my ears are not the best. So when I went into the movie world, I was quickly then sure that I will go more into the image direction. So I would say mostly visual arts. So I like to go to museums and watch let's say the modern painting. I mean, not the contemporary stuff that much, but let's say from 1900 to 1950 or so. That's the expressionism, impressionism. That's this era is really inspiring for me. But if I have to make one single choice, I would say it's movies. So I'm really a big fan of movies, and they're interestingly not the ones that were digitally graded. So I'm a big fan of, for example, the new Hollywood era. So Sam Peckinpah.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite directors, or Robert Altman. So this kind of era, so late 60s, 1970s indie movies from Hollywood, or let's say, or outside of the Hollywood system. That's what I really enjoy watching. But also, I mean, lots of contemporary stuff. So there's
there's so much to choose from, isn't it? It's
yeah, exactly. But it's but I think moving images is for me the highest art form.
Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much for taking time out. I've been trying to track you down for the longest time, and finally our calendars lined up. But thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, it has been great, Vincent. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Andy, thank you so much for taking time out and joining me on the show. It was excellent to speak to you, and really, really interesting. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in, for all those likers and subscribers, and people who have actually bought T-shirts. I did that kind of as a joke initially, but it's really cool. I'm getting photos of people from all around the world wearing the Color Timer T-shirt, so it's great. It's really, really cool. Thank you to my executive producer, MixingLight.com. If you don't know what they do, check them out. They can help you all things color. And that's it, I think. We're getting close to the end of the season, to be honest. There's only 12 episodes in a season. So I've got some interesting plans for season 3, which I can't wait to share with you, but you'll have to hold on a little bit longer. Look, thanks so much, and take care, and I'll see you soon.
The Color Timer, a micro podcast experience.